Welcome and good morning or good afternoon to everyone who is on the call today, depending which time zone you're in. And we have an absolutely outstanding topic today, and that is how to create extra MSP revenue by building services with Kaspersky. I hope you like it, and it will be really a fantastic session. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to show you the QR code, which takes you right to our LinkedIn community. If you're not already part of it, please come and join us. Here you get event updates and latest information about Kaspersky on LinkedIn. Always very helpful on that one. The the webinar today will be with four people including me, as you can see right now on the call. I'll introduce you in a minute. I also would like to show you that you can actually ask questions. So please don't be shy, ask questions. We are here to answer all of your questions. No single question will be unanswered. We also have a Q&A at the end, so you can also use that, but also state your question in writing here in the call right there. So now let's get started and introducing our speakers here. So as you can see here also on the slide, we have Stan Laurison, who is our global MSSP channel lead and MSP channel lead, Taku Nissen, our global business development manager for MSP and MSSP, and the absolute highlight is that we also have Jan Oberbanscheid, who is director at our platinum partner of Yosoft. And Jan will give us some practical insights how he is dealing with that topic. So stay tuned, it'll be absolutely outstanding session. With that, I would like to give the floor to Stan.
Thank you, Andy, and welcome everybody from my side. So let me see if I can share my screen. Hmm. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, but not in full presentation mode, Stan.
Okay, try again. Okay. Is it now full presentation mode, Andy?
No change. Yes, now it is.
Ah,
Thank you.
great. All right, let me give you a brief introduction of what we are going to discuss today. So I will provide you with some insights why MSP or MSSP business is growing so fast around the globe. And why it might be a good idea for you to become part of this business stream, what our ecosystem looks like, and how you can partner up with us. After my introduction, I will hand over the mic to my partner in crime, Taco Nijse, who will provide you with some insights in how you can position yourself in the maturity service building and what kind of offerings we have to offer you in order to build new services with Kaspersky. And then we will move to some really practical examples of services. So example one will be presented by Taco, and this will be around the topic of digital footprint intelligence. And the second one will be presented by me, which is related to trend data feeds for next-gen firewall. And last but not least, Jan Obermann-Scheid will provide you also the trend data feeds topic, but including a live demo how he is providing the service for his customers. All right, let's start. So why MSP business is growing so fast globally? Well, there are maybe three main reasons for that. First of all, the threats are rising every single day. And those threats are becoming more and more complex. And also the solutions to solve those threats are becoming more and more complex. And finally, the people who need to implement and maintain those complex solutions are really hard to find. So, for example, last year we had a lack of 3.5 million cybersecurity experts around the globe that we could not find for customers to solve those cybersecurity issues. And if you find as an SMB customer a partner, this partner, he wants to partner up with a vendor that provides a complete solution, a complete portfolio. Because if you want to become an MSP partner, you do not want to go with, let's say, 5 or 6 different vendors. And we have a very complete portfolio where you are able to create services from the very small business type all the way up to the security operations center business. And in the end, you want to use a higher security component in your service to stand out from the competition in order to have a higher lock-in at your customer. Um, so now that we know why the business is growing so fast, I want to provide you with some reasons why it could be a nice idea for you to become part of this business stream. Well, to start, there's a big difference in traditional business compared to MSP business on renewal rate versus end customer retention rate. So within Kaspersky, we have, let's say, a renewal rate that is above 80%, which is really, really high. But in the end, it tells us that we miss 20%, roughly 20% of our business by expiration date of the license. Could be various reasons for that, of course, and I do not have to mention them all. But in the end, we miss 20% of the business. If we compare this to end customer retention rate in MSP business, this is up to 97%. So the churn is close to zero. This means that the customer will stay with you and you do not have to hunt for all those renewals all the time. And this time saving will provide you with the option to hunt for new business, for example, or to do an upsell. Um, yeah, this is I think the major difference between the traditional business model and an MSP business stream. But on the other hand, the business is much more predictable. You know exactly based on what you sell on a monthly base or a yearly base what you're going to invoice because there's no renewal moment anymore. And because there's no renewal moment anymore, you can do an upsell at any time. You do not have to wait. So within traditional business, normally you would wait till the expiration date of the license, and let's say maybe 4 to 6 weeks before the expiration date, you would give the customer a call to say, hey, Mr. Customer, your license will expire in 6 weeks. Maybe it's time to have a conversation to do an upsell or an upgrade on the solution as we provide a new solution like the next solutions that we provided last year to you. And there's one price to rule them all, which contains cumulative billing, and I will talk about it later a bit more. Last but not least, a very important reason for you to consider to become part of MSP Business Stream is the average revenue per user. Because you can build multiple revenue streams out of a single product, you can earn much more per user. And of course, which is an open door. Uh, if you sell services where Kaspersky is a building block, you will have, of course, much more or a higher margin on an average revenue per user compared to just selling products. So now that we know why the business is growing so fast and what reasons you could consider to become part of this business model, I would like to show you our Kaspersky MSP ecosystem. So what you see here is what I said in the beginning, that we provide you with a very complete portfolio from Kaspersky Next EDR Foundation, which is a very low entry level solution, let's say like a cloud endpoint cloud solution, all the way up to our intelligence or threat data feeds or threat lookup, etc., to manage detection and response solutions that could be used out of a security operations center, which is quite unique. And all those solutions, we provide trainings and we provide also support from our HQ office to you. But how are you going to partner up with Kaspersky? Well, we have 3 statuses within our MSP partner program. The MSP entry level status will provide you at least cumulative billing. So as I said in the beginning, I would explain a bit more. So cumulative billing, it means that if you have, for example, 10 customers with 10 seats, then the total amount of seats will be 100. And the buying price for you as a partner will be based on 100 plus instead of 10 seats for every single order. So the more you sell, the lower your buying price will be. And we are even able to combine the cumulative billing over multiple products. And if you want to know more inside information about what kind of products we can combine, I would recommend to call your partner account manager or your distributor of choice, who would be able to explain you this. Next to the MSP status, which is the selling status, we have the MSP advanced status. And there we have a situation when partners are selling much more and meeting a local threshold, they are eligible to receive rebates. Of course, they need to do something extra for it, and I will show you in a minute, but it comes down to extra certifications. And the most mature status that we have is our managed security service provider status, where partners are selling advanced services from the security operations center. And we would like to engage much more with them on a technical level. So if we go a bit more into detail, you see that almost all the basic stuff is already included in the MSP status, like, for example, the 5 premium support cases in the first year. If you become MSP advanced status, what I said, you will be eligible for rebates depending on the local threshold and the local region. It could be 7% or maybe different. And you could also use our marketing development fund. If you have the MSSP status, which is the most mature status, we provide you also, and this is pretty new, solution advisory sessions. Those sessions, we will try to engage with you and to support you how to implement our most mature solutions into your security offering, because we know that you as an MSSP partner use our solution as a building block of a complete solution. And then last but not least, before I hand over the mic to Taco, how to partner up with us. How can you join the MSP partner program? Well, go to the Kaspersky United Partner Portal and check where you can find the button how to become MSP or MSSP partner. Follow the onboarding course or extra courses if needed for a certain status. Choose your distributor of choice and start selling our solutions and grow the business together. With having said that, I would like to hand over the mic to my colleague Taco. Taco, are you there?
Let me unmute my mic and share my camera. Thank you, Stan. Hope you can hear me
Great.
okay.
Yes, I hear you okay.
All right, perfect. So let me
if you
quickly
could
share my
the screen.
And Stan, please give me your okay if you can see my slide in the right mode.
Yes, I can see it in the right mode. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. All right, Stan, thank you for the insightful presentation. I think most of what you explained, we have talked about quite a lot, but we see, of course, a big difference in maturity around the world. So I think it's good to keep repeating the message so everybody understands why it's important to pay attention to this business model. But now we want to dive a bit deeper into, okay, how can you use and how can you sell Kaspersky aside from the basic antivirus where people know it from. So if you are considering or if you are already selling managed services, I think it's good to determine based on this slide 2 things. Where am I at the moment? So position yourself at the moment, and where do I want to go moving forward? Because of course we can propose managed XDR, but if this is not aligning with your company strategy, it's good to decide, okay, maybe there's a different route where I still can distinguish myself without having all of the required expertise to build it myself. So I think this slide gives a good overview on where am I now and where do I want to go. And then if you figured it out for yourself, I think it's really important to take a look at this. So Stan gave a really good slide around the portfolio around Kaspersky. People, they know us for our antivirus. This is what we're known for. But not many people know that we actually have 80 products and services in our portfolio. And almost all of them, they can be converted into a service. So if we look at MSP versus MSSP, these are the products. And this is if you if you put them in the overview I shared with you last slide, this is how you can distinguish the different products for the different services. To give you an example on how you can make money as an MSP, I think it's good to focus first on the managed protection services, right? So this is the basic. Normally, they would use this as a building block for a total service offering. So you would have your backup, you would have your communication, your networking, for example. So everything comprised into one block. And then managed protection is just a small set of solutions that you can use. And I like this slide because it actually explains how you can distinguish yourself first and how you can make money. So if you work from a traditional model, and for example, you buy a Kaspersky product for $10, and you resell it for 12, there's a $2 margin. It's basically a sell and resell setup of doing business. It takes a bit of rewiring in your head and in your business model to do it differently. So what you can do with the Kaspersky endpoint solution product, so the basic product that I just shared with you, is you can make a lot of different services using this. So if we go back to the $10 example, you can do a managed anti-malware service for $5, but you can also do a managed mobile device security for $5. And you can do a shadow IT discovery for $5. And in this way, you allow yourself to make a lot more margin using the single product. So if you are working towards being an MSP, or you're already an MSP, but only selling and using Kaspersky for the antivirus part, I think it could be really valuable to take a look at the in-depth of the product and see if you are able to distinguish more services coming from the single product, right? But what we see, there is a different trend in the market nowadays. So we see, and you can see it on the left, there is a trend of going into proactive services. And what proactive services mean is that you actually want the security to be done outside of your perimeter. So endpoint security normally will only act as soon as something hits the system, we recognize it, and it gets deleted. What customers are looking for now is proactive services. And these proactive services, they are interesting for a couple of reasons. The first one is that with AI up and coming, the threats that are coming out are evolving really, really fast. Right? So in order to avoid having an outbreak on your system, you need to just cancel them outside of your perimeter. What we also see is that customers normally, they expect their MSPs and MSSPs to stay ahead of these threats. So they are not knowledgeable about IT, they don't know what's hitting them, but they assume that the MSP has everything under control, even with all of the changes that we see. What we also see is that the cost of late detection is on the rise. So I saw an example last week where the number or the cost of a late detection or an outbreak on the system is actually threefold of what it was 5 years ago. So this is really important, and this is another reason why people should be paying attention to this. And then the compliance and regulatory pressure that we get from governments, especially in the more mature markets, this is increasing. So governments, in order to do government contracts, government bids, they rely on MSSPs to take certain measures, certain standards as a common practice into their offering. Right. So if we go back to this overview of products, how you can provide proactive services to your customers, we want to zoom in on a managed threat intel, right? So Stan shared the agenda with you. We are going to look at two different sets of intelligence services that you can easily adopt being an MSP without having too much technical knowledge. So Stan and Jan will talk about data feeds, but I will tell you a little bit about our DFI, so our Kaspersky Digital Footprint Intelligence. So what is DFI? It's called Digital Footprint Intelligence, and what it allows you to do is to proactively fight cybercrime before it enters the corporate network, the scenario I just painted for you. And what makes it really special coming from Kaspersky is that we are allowing you to provide services to your customers using the very best analysts and researchers that you can find in the world. So we allow you to build your own solution using us, without being very visible, visibly Kaspersky on the customer end. And it allows you to distinguish yourself in the crowded IT or the MSP or MSSP market, because especially in Europe, but also in North America, and it's a trend where everybody has an MSP practice. But in order to set yourself apart from the mass without going on the price or pivoting on price, you can use a solution like DFI or data feeds in order to make yourself stand out from the competition. All right. So I know we advertise this as practical steps for implementing new services as a service provider. So what I try to do is to give you a couple of examples on how you can use DFI to easily generate a little bit more money coming from your customers. So the first one, and I mentioned it in the previous slide already, is to package it as a branded service. So what DFI allows you to do is you can take our DFI and implement it as an additional partner service. You can make the name you want, you can sell it as your own, and then you can create a tiered plan to propose it to your customers. And then I think it's really important, if you have this tiered plan available, to go for specific verticals. So we know that some verticals are more prone to regulatory demands from the government. So I would suggest to go after them first, like finance, legal, healthcare, etc. Second thing you can do is, if you have a DRP, a digital risk protection, in place, you can bundle it. So you can position our DFI as a forensic layer for clients after incidents or during audits. And the good thing is that you can bill per incident response or include it in your retainer in your incident response contract. And then I think so the practical examples are here. We will obviously share the slides afterwards, but I think it's very important that you build your story something that is relatable for the potential customer. So everybody deals with fake emails from CEO. It's good that you then can propose a solution that mitigates this threat. Thirdly, you can integrate it in your incident response services. So to add DFI to your digital risk protection offering, and then especially if you're already monitoring domain spoofing, social media impersonation, leaked credentials, there is a possibility to offer a so-called VIP protection. So this allows you to offer a specific protection for C-suite individuals or public-facing figures. And what I've seen is that there is a huge demand, especially from mid-sized companies, to have like an extra layer of security coming from for these C-suite individuals. And I already mentioned it, but I think it's really important to educate and upsell with business use cases. So what I always tell people, if you want to sell more than antivirus, because antivirus people know that they need it, it's a no-brainer. For all the other stuff that you want to sell on security, it's good to use real-world stories. So find an example in the news, something that resonates within your prospect base, and then sell the value that you are offering as a customer. And I think it's really important to, as a practical action, you can, for example, provide a DFI risk awareness workshop or a lunch and learn with some prospective clients. It's also possible to offer a free scan to show what we can find on a certain domain or a certain IP to generate interest and show exactly what we can do. And then last but not least, and I think this is really important, it's to leverage the Kaspersky partner support. So we have almost a 27-year track record working in cybersecurity. And if we deal with MSSPs, the main thing they always tell us is they need our support, they need our technical expertise to make them stand out to their potential customers. So please know that we can provide you with training, we can provide you with materials, we can help you with go-to-markets. So we have all the documentation available for you guys to just easily implement this into your customer base. That being said, if you are interested in learning more or getting some help in implementing this as a service into your company, please reach out to me. Send me an email. I will pick it up with the local account manager, and together we can make a plan. We can help you to reach out to your customers. Also follow me on LinkedIn, so there I can provide also extra information as well as documentation on what we do as Kaspersky for MSP business. And that being said, I think it's time to go back to Stan. Stan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Taco. Thank you for this this insightful information on the maturity building and how partners can position themselves and in the phase where they are and to grow to much more mature services. So let me see if I can share my screen again. So can you see my screen, Taco, in the right way?
Yes, all good, Stan. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so the second example we want to provide you today is the solution of threat data feeds for next generation firewall. So let me first explain you a bit what the solution is about. So I always explain it in a very simple way. So everybody has a front door and a lock on the front door, which is the firewall in your infrastructure. But maybe today it's not enough anymore and you need much more proactive security as well. So put also a camera on your front door to see who's coming, right? So why our Kaspersky threat data feeds instead of other data feeds? Because we are not the only one offering this solution around the globe. Well, first of all, because we are present in regions where others are not. So if you want to make your Western solution more complete, you can use us as we have physical presence in regions like Russia, China, and the Middle East. And a lot of the problems that we are facing all together these days are coming from those regions. So if you use Fortinet or Cisco or Palo Alto or Sophos, and we can name them all, as we have a vendor agnostic solution, you can make those solutions much more complete by using our threat data feeds. So having said that, let's have a look on the services. And before we go there, I would like to highlight that if you use our service on top of your managed firewall solution that you are already serving to your customers, we proved in certain benchmarks also to increase the level of protection up to 35%, which is really high. So if you want to build this new revenue stream, I have defined 6 steps. So the first one is that you need to select and configure your threat intelligence feeds. So we provide 2 different feeds, which is URL and IP. You can use them separately, but of course we highly recommend you to choose both. Step 2, after selecting the feeds, you need to adopt them into your firewall policy. This means connect the input of feeds into your firewall, normally done via API connections. But of course, there are other ways too. You can upload the files manually as well. And maybe Jan, you can show the audience in your demo what options are available. After the connection is automated, you can set up different rules, of course, based on the customers you are serving. So for example, in some cases, you might want to create or allow rules for specific IPs or domains that are considered safe based on the feed information. But yeah, I won't go too much in detail. If you have specific questions, as I'm not a techie, you can ask Jan on request on this as well. Step 3, automate threat detection and response. So this means what to alert and how to isolate specific IPs or URLs. In step 4, we need to create a method to provide actionable insights, meaning proactive, timely, and relevant and context-rich information about threats to block them proactively. And in step 5, you need to make sure how to monitor those services for your customers. And here I would like to ask Jan again if he's able to show how he is monitoring the service for his customers. And last but not least, step 6, you need to deliver maybe the most important part of the service for your end customers, a report. Make it a nice report, even if they cannot read it literally. It's important because it's like the proof of delivery of the service for your customer. So this is about the practical steps of the revenue stream. But what I would like to highlight is with this solution, you can differentiate to competitors. So you will have less competition. If you have like a service of managed firewall solution, what I said in the beginning, and you upgrade this all the way up to, let's say, managed firewall protection or managed firewall premium service, you can grow your product margin, let's say on average ×4, because normally you would sell the service, what I've noticed, about $1, you can go all the way up to a $4 per node service. So this is pretty heavily. Having said that, I would like to ask Jan to the stage. Jan, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Thank you, Stan.
Great. Okay. So you can share your
I'll
screen.
take over the screen sharing. And you should see my
Yes,
slide now.
I see it. Yes, I see it.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Jan.
Yes, thank you very much, Stan. Hello, everybody. My name is Jan Brandscheid. I'm from a German Kaspersky Platinum partner, and today I want to show you a little bit more about the threat data feeds for next-gen firewalls. Since I made a couple of experiences with it, we acquired some customers for it and made our experiences within the last 6 months. And I can hear somebody clicking on a keyboard. Maybe somebody's not muted, right? All right. Yeah, so first of all, what are the Kaspersky threat data feeds for next-gen firewalls? We're specifically talking about Kaspersky network security controls. That's what the product or the SKU is called at Kaspersky, and it's basically a list of domain names and IP addresses from the Kaspersky threat intelligence information, but broken down to the bare minimum of a domain name or an IP address. These data come from Kaspersky Security Network, from botnet farms, web crawlers, or open source, and are basically put together into a compact list you can implement into a firewall. You always deal with the most current information since the refresh rate is between 20 and 60 minutes. And there are right now 4 different data feeds available. As Stan already said, we have the IP feed and the domain feeds, which are 2 SKUs, but we sell them as a bundle, and we would definitely recommend selling them as one because they just provide the most and most interesting information. What's the actual value for the customer? So after the implementation into the firewall of the customer can automatically block events and block connections to or from IP addresses and domains that are on the list, and they are most likely shady and in connection with some kind of phishing or threats. It's perfect for infrastructure with published services, since most of the time when you cannot work with a geo-block, for example, or you have to make a service completely publicly available, you don't really have an insight on who's trying to access the server or the service, and you can filter that by blocking all the malicious connections right at the gateway. And it can prevent the connections before it even reaches the service or the endpoint. So before the endpoint protection can take any action, you can already block the connection. The value for the MSSP or the MSP is definitely the quick integration. I will show it later on how easy it is to integrate the data feeds into a firewall, and that takes roughly a couple minutes, and after that you don't need to maintain anything because once implemented it runs by itself. You don't have to update anything. It's all automated, so you have a quick integration with no maintenance, and with that you get a monthly revenue without doing further work on keeping the service stable. And from that you can bundle it up with your own service for analysis of blocked events. So if there are events that have been blocked, you can pair it up with, for example, a Kaspersky threat lookup, And with thread lookup, you get the actual insight about the domain. So all the information where the domain or the IP address has been pulled from, you can get back and receive all the additional or further information to provide to your customer. For example, via thread lookup, or if you want to with VirusTotal, which is more like a basic open source program. Why thread data feeds, or how we sell it? What are the topics we discuss with the customer when we go into a conversation with the customer? What are the topics we have to talk about? First of all, we always offer a free proof of concept, because we make the experience that with 90% of customers entering a POC, they all have detections. And when there was something found that otherwise wouldn't be seen, the customers are most likely to actually buy the service after that. You more or less selling a cost-effective multi-vendor strategy. So when the customer already has its next-gen firewall from you or from a different provider, you put another vendor on top, since especially here in Europe, there's no Kaspersky firewall, and we most likely have to use other vendors for gateway technology. So we can sell a second vendor, in this case Kaspersky, on top of the existing one, and have a cheaper, most a cost-effective multi-vendor strategy compared to a second firewall from a second vendor. And you always receive latest and time-critical information within an hour, at least 20 minutes to an hour, so your firewall can react to it when it's been seen at any other customer of the 400 million Kaspersky installations out there, whether it's B2B or B2C. You receive the information as soon as it's available, and your firewall can react to it as soon as possible. Yeah, what next-gen firewalls are even compatible? So to see if you have a firewall in your portfolio, or you have customers with firewalls that are compatible, there's right now 4 out of the top 5 firewall vendors by market share are actually compatible. That's Checkpoint, Cisco, Fortinet, and Palo Alto. And in addition to that, it's Sophos since last year. It's also able to integrate third-party data feeds, and Sophos is the one I will be talking about today, because we usually work with Sophos when it comes to next-gen firewalls. And how is the integration working? So for Fortinet, Palo, and Checkpoint, we made the experience that you basically implement the data feeds, and after that you have to create policies for it. It's usable as a network object, so you can create a firewall rule blocking traffic going through addresses on the data feed list, or coming from addresses from the data feed list, or use it as a DNS policy. For example, in a FortiGate, you have to create a DNS policy, DNS filter, and with that, firewall can also block DNS queries for domains on the list. For Sophos, the integration is a little easier, since Sophos is the last one out of these 4 that implemented the usage of third-party data feeds. It automatically creates all the policies needed and automatically distributes the information to the needed module inside the firewall. So you basically just have to integrate the data feeds, and from that point on, the firewall does everything by itself. If a firewall integration is for whatever reason not possible, there's more options. We're talking about Bind or Pile. These are DNS services that are used for ad blocking, and they can also use third-party lists. So it's also possible to integrate data feeds into this and have a more or less a DNS server that blocks events based on information coming from Kaspersky, which is implemented in a short time. It's pretty lightweight, it's pretty easy, and it's open source. So if the firewall integration is not possible, this could be an option to use. Yeah, my customer experiences. As I said, we managed to acquire a couple of customers, and one of these is a German authority here. And when starting the POC, we immediately saw that there were hundreds of event blocks within a week. The infrastructure here is a publicly available web server that's used for providing forms and applications. And the customer actually said without threat data feeds, we wouldn't even know there were so many dubious connections from locations that don't require access. And since they offer a database which all countries within the European Union has to access, a geoblock was basically no option for us. So they actually figured out that there are hundreds of connections coming from malicious domains or IP addresses that were blocked after they implemented data feeds into their infrastructure. The second customer I want to talk about is a German SMB business, where they just have regular internet access over the firewall and have a web server which offers a portal, a customer portal for order management. And they had within the first week or first 2 weeks of the proof of concept, they had over 20 detections, and one of them was very interesting. And the customer actually said that we received a phishing email containing a malicious attachment that attempted to download software. Unfortunately, neither our endpoint protection nor our email security detected anything. To note here, endpoint protection wasn't Kaspersky, of course. Otherwise, a simple phishing mail would be recognized and blocked. Fortunately, the firewall notified me that it had detected connection to a CNC server based on Kaspersky threat data feeds. So they received a phishing email, and multiple employees clicked on it, and no other system alerted the administrator or gave any information. So luckily, we were able to see these connections and were able to take actions after that, because we knew that there were some kind of payload communicating to a CNC, and we were able to delete all the phishing ads, spread awareness through the company, and think about a change in endpoint and email security. Then we as an MSSP provide the threat data feeds to multiple customers, and for that we set up our own distribution system. So this is one way you can use this. There's also the option to directly implement it with the customer, but we chose the way to have our own distribution server. So it acts as a proxy, and we as a partner received the access to the threat intelligence portal from Kaspersky. And we have our own customer management where we create credentials, unique credentials for every customer. So in case that the customer doesn't buy the data feeds, we can actually block the customer and revoke his access by that. And a key advantage for the MSSP is definitely the quick customer creation. You don't have to get credentials from Kaspersky, which comes with a longer period of waiting for information, and you have better monitoring because you can actually check the usage of the customer. And since our customers usually have managed firewalls from us, we created reporting for on the firewall system itself. So whenever there's something blocked by Kaspersky threat data feeds, we receive a notification, a ticket gets created in the background, and we can go to the analyzing the actual threat via threat lookup and receive further information to the customer, which is also a paid service at this point. So extra revenue for us to from the customer. Yeah, thank you. That was the first part of my presentation, to just give you more information about what we are doing and what you could do to create more business with Kaspersky threat data feeds. And now I just want to jump into software, into a firewall, and show you the integration process and how easy the integration process actually is. You will see that within a couple of minutes we will have it up and running, and we can see first feedback when we try to access some sites that are definitely on the threat data feeds. So I just have to switch to the screen. So here we are on Sophos firewall on the virtual appliance, which is basically the same interface that the regular hardware firewall uses. And in the active threat response tab, third-party threat feed tab, we see that here are right now 3 domain feeds implemented, which is malicious domains, phishing domains, and botnet domains. Right now they are limited. Usually we are between 500 and 800,000 entries with all feeds together. Since this is a virtual appliance, it's a little limited in storage, so I had to limit them, but I will say a little more to that later. As you can see, it's only 3 feeds. I said there are 4, so we have to implement the IP feed now. We will just do it here together, which is I simply give it an external URL from which you can receive the feed and put in authentication information. So I just copy this, have dangerous IPs. I want to block the events, not just monitor them, which is also an option, but we haven't come along one single false positive. So whenever something's blocked and we went into analysis, it always proven to be a true positive, and it's no errors, no false positives, even though we can still exclude something. We just want to authenticate, and I have to grab the password real quick. And after the refresh, we can see that there are now 19,000 IP addresses as well. And we come up to a total of roughly 150,000 entries, which uses 90% of the storage quota. But as I can see, as I said, most firewalls can use all of the information, especially when we're talking about rack mount devices. There is no problem with storage anymore. It's just because this is a demo machine. But what you can do is you can limit the download. So you could just set a limit parameter. And since the lists from Kaspersky are in order and prioritized by currentness, you basically receive the 40,000 newest entries and the most dangerous entries first, and all older entries fall down because they are under this 40,000 limit. And so yeah, what happens when I try to access one of these sites? For example, I just take one of these, copy it into my command line, try to ping it. Now directly receive the feedback that couldn't be found, and when I go to the firewall control center, I see that there is a logged event from a malicious domain, which is my client, and I can go into the log viewer to get some more information out of it and provide the customer with more information about the actual threat by looking it up in threat lookup in the threat intelligence portal from Kaspersky. That's basically it. That's all you need to do at the customer side to have it up and running. Simply integrate the data feed into the firewall. When it comes to Fortinet or Checkpoint, we would have to create 2 firewall rules as well as a DNS policy. But even with that, we're talking about an effort of, then it comes up to maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And it's definitely not much effort for a monthly revenue stream that comes up to, since it's the MSP model with more customers, more revenue and more service you can provide as well. And you definitely have a firewall that detects more than just a regular Sophos, for example, because what we've seen is, or what we tested is, when we're running the Kaspersky threat data feeds against the Sophos data feeds that it provides by itself to its own firewall, Sophos only knew 3% of the information Kaspersky provided. So it's not much. Something that can change, of course, Which depends on the day, but we will refresh every 20 to 60 minutes, and software refreshes between 1 to 6 days. So yeah, you definitely have more and more current information. Thank you very much. I hope everything was clear. If not, go ahead, write me an email if you need some further help, or maybe setting up a distribution server. This is something I can clearly help you with as well. And yeah, thank you very much. And I think I give back to you guys.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much for that great presentation. And indeed, well, I personally had a look at it, what you just did, and it was so super easy to integrate the firewalls and to integrate the data feed into the firewalls. And I'm hoping that all of our attendees on the call are actually seeing the same way. If you have any questions out there, please don't hesitate to raise your questions. I have at the moment no additional question, but that's okay. If you can think about something later, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Both Jan, Stan, and Taco were so kind to provide their email address, so you can reach out to them at any point in time and ask your questions. Please do that. I also want to make sure you know that we are sharing the recording, and we are also sharing the material in the follow-up call. So you can have all of that in front of you, and you can refer back to the email addresses and also refer obviously back to the material later on. Okay, so please watch out for that. That follow-up call, follow-up email will come quite soon in the next day or two. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I think we are done. So thank you so much for attending today. Have a great rest of the day and a successful week ahead of you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.